Hi, my name is Dante, and this is U.F.O, a Japanese film that I'm sure you haven't heard about. This is not an insult to your familiarity with obscure things. This movie is just hard to find, and it's entirely possible only a tiny fraction of people on this planet have heard about it. As a result, I've decided to do a first for this channel and review the film. This may be the only film review I do, as I would like to avoid copyright strikes for the sake of this channel's long-term survival. If you're a dedicated viewer of my content, you may be confused as to why I'm uploading a video in September after what I discussed in my Ridge Racer Type 4 review, but I'll explain that at the end of the video. For now, let's talk about how I found U.F.O and the film itself. My story begins on Spotify. While browsing my Discover Weekly playlist to try and find some new heat to listen to as I work a mindless job and become a slave to society, I was recommended a song from U.F.O's soundtrack. The song was so good that I quickly looked up the film and tried to find it. To be honest, most of my search results were those terribly edited images of UFOs in the sky from 2009, but after some more aggressive searching, I was able to find the film I was looking for, completely free on YouTube. I set aside some time to watch U.F.O, and hoo boy, I was not disappointed. From the first minute to the last, U.F.O had my attention with great cinematography, a killer soundtrack, and a strange but kind of relatable plot. I'm serious about the cinematography. For a film that I can only assume was made by a very tiny independent group of people, they did not fail in setting the scene with a relatively poor quality camera and limited resources. Editing is also a big part of it, as you can only do so much with a camera. A soft blur and bloom accompany the entire film to make scenes feel warm or hectic depending on the mood, and the general flow of the movie is handled well when it comes to things like speed, force, and desperation. There's also a bit of silliness here and there. I'm not going to lie, some parts of this film make it obvious it was made by someone who isn't some big shot filmmaker, but I enjoy this amateur feel. It's a quirk to love instead of a quirk to resent. Perhaps one of the amateur elements to mention is how non-subtle the UFO of the story is when it briefly appears in the sky. I probably would have enjoyed this little Easter egg in scenes if it blended into the scenery more, but with how it is presented it kinda looks like a visual gag, although maybe that is intentional. But still, there's a lot to enjoy here, and I think someone who loves watching films will think of UFO as a Snickers bar. It's not anything astonishing or groundbreaking with its camera work, but it's delicious nonetheless. I also really enjoy the backgrounds used in every scene, with the male protagonist's apartment being a really good depiction of a messy— wait, is that R2-D2? But anyways, a camera and how you use it is important, but U.F.O has a lot more going on to make it a memorable film. As if the scene wasn't enough to grab you, U.F.O throws out random bangers constantly to keep your attention. Courtesy of Sadesper Record, every track made for U.F.O is top shelf, and it's no secret why. Because the only two members of Sadesper Record are also part of Cold Tar of the Deepers, a Japanese shoegaze band with a discography that'll knock your socks off. Now, I might have just spewed a bunch of incoherent nonsense in your face, because you probably have no idea what the hell a Cold Tar of the Deepers is. My only advice is to educate yourself on Japanese shoegaze and become a civilized member of society like the rest of us, because you're missing out big time. My love for music aside, this really is one of the best movie soundtracks ever. I can tell this was made with love and passion, and whenever you put love into something, it almost always turns out good. Every track is fitting for what is basically a tale of two losers, and on that note, I should probably discuss the acting and the story of UFO. As far as I know, everyone who has an acting role in this movie is not at all some big shot actor in Japan, and it seems likely that pretty much everyone who acted here is some friend of the director or an acquaintance. But that doesn't take away from the experience. I've seen great acting, and I've seen terrible acting. If UFO's acting had to be placed on the scale of good to bad, it would lead more towards good, but it's just kind of in the middle for a pretty big reason. This film has very little dialogue. Maybe it's actually a normal amount of dialogue, but I think this film relies much more heavily on the motion of the characters and what they're doing rather than what they are talking about. Case in point, Ryoko Okabe, who plays the female lead, is almost always doing something when she's on screen. I don't speak or even remotely understand Japanese, so I can't rate the speaking in the depth of what little words there are here, but from the emotions and the physical language of the characters, I can definitely at least say that the acting is endorsed for quality and that it is somewhat good, and it makes the film all the more enjoyable. Of course, now it comes down to the story, and this is where I'll be painfully honest. I have a very limited understanding of this film, and it's not just because I don't speak Japanese, it's also because the version of the film that's available to me is completely untranslated and I couldn't find English subtitles for it. So this entire time I've been rating a film I don't even really understand. But I'm also lying to you, because while I don't quite get the exact story, or really what anyone is saying, there's so little speaking here that it doesn't matter. UFO relies on visual storytelling, and it doesn't take some 200 IQ genius to figure out what's going on. Matter of fact, I could dub over the entire film's dialogue with my own voice and completely made up lines, and it would still make sense to the average person. Damn, bitch, you live like this? Oh god! But anyways, even without an understanding of the Japanese language, it is easy to tell that our characters are losers in a country where losers are lower than they are anywhere else in the world. They're not heroes or great legendary people. It wouldn't be far-fetched to call either of the protagonists punks or lunatics. They go on a journey that's nonsensical, and in the process, they find some kind of meaning in their normally pathetic lives. Maybe they even find love, which is all two losers really need to become winners, no matter how low they are to everyone else. The UFO in the sky is relevant, because in the end, the film just doubles down on being real, and it becomes all the more beautiful because of it. To someone who's never been a loser, or to someone who just doesn't care, this film fucking sucks. But to me, it's really good. And I definitely suggest watching it if the shoe fits. UFO is a strange comedic but ultimately sad film. Its plot is slightly lost on me, but the precise visual storytelling combined with amazing music and an ending that actually made me feel some emotions make it a ride I just loved experiencing. I'm a jaded person, and years spent on the internet make me pretty critical of things and judgmental right off the bat of any media, but I'm glad I gave UFO a shot. It's a film by losers, for losers, and it's available for free on YouTube. That's a price you simply cannot beat. So check it out now using the link in the description or burn in hell forever. It's your choice. Normally, I would end the video with that, but I got one little important message I should pass on pertaining to a previous statement I made. Now I mentioned some confusion before that might come from me making this video so soon after vowing to return in October in my previous review. Well, things have changed drastically, and I'm probably not going to be able to make new crappy reviews and the occasional funny video for a while. It's moderately unfortunate since I had a lot more videos I wanted to make before 2023, and this was all I could put out before things got busy for me. Still, I'm glad I could make something before I entered this indefinite hiatus, and I appreciate all 4 or 5 real humans that watch these videos. I will return eventually, but for now, this is Dante signing off. See you next time when I make a better video than this. Hopefully. Wait a second, that was R2-D2!